Figure it out yourself, my wife screams, and for a second I actually think she's joking. Then the tires spit gravel, the car swings away from the pumps, and I am left standing in the October wind with a paper cup of burnt gas station coffee and my own breath turning white in the dark. Her sisters are still laughing in the back seat when the taillights shrink into 2 red pinpricks on Highway 87. No bag, no keys, no ride. Just my phone, my wallet, and the slow, choking realization that the woman I have loved for 8 years did not forget me here. She left me here. The sound of the engine fades faster than it should. There's nothing out here to hold it. No buildings, no traffic, just open land and cold air that swallows everything whole. I stand there a moment longer than makes sense, hands still half lifted like I'm about to open a door that isn't there anymore. My fingers sting from the wind. The coffee in my other hand is barely warm now. A pickup rolls past on the highway, headlights sweeping over me, and I imagine what I must look like to whoever's driving. Some guy on the edge of nowhere, staring at a quiet road, like he's waiting for the rest of his life to turn around and come back for him. I keep thinking Mara will U-turn, that this is some stupid joke she'll regret instantly. But minutes pass, maybe 5, maybe 10, and the red glow never returns. When I finally move, my legs feel heavy. I walk back toward the gas station doors, pushing through the wind, my chest tight. Inside, the place smells like burnt popcorn and cold rubber. A country song hums low from a radio behind the counter. The woman working the register, gray hair pulled into a messy bun, face lined like she's seen enough of life already, lifts her eyes to me. "You all right?" she asks. It's the kind of question you only ask when the answer's obvious. I open my mouth, but nothing comes out. My voice cracks on the first try. My ride, left. She tilts her head, not surprised. "Yeah, I saw." She doesn't say it with judgment, more like somebody who's watched storms roll in too often to pretend sunshine is guaranteed. "You need to call someone?" I nod, though I'm not even sure who I think I can call. Mara won't pick up. Celeste and Rowan probably blocked me before the car cleared the parking lot. I can still hear their laughter, sharp and mean, cutting right through the cold. I replay it without wanting to. The woman, her name tag says Marlene, slides the phone across the counter. I dial Mara anyway, like muscle memory hasn't caught up with reality. Straight to voicemail. I try Celeste, nothing. Rowan's number is dead to me. She blocked me months ago after some argument I barely remember. "They ain't coming back," Marlene says, quiet but firm, like she's doing me a favor by not letting the lie grow roots. "People who leave you that way, they already decided before they hit the parking lot." Her words hit harder than the wind outside. I swallow, jaw tight, trying to keep something inside from breaking loose. "It wasn't supposed to be like this," I finally manage. "We drove up for a wedding. We were just supposed to have a normal weekend." Marlene doesn't smile. She doesn't say anything soft or comforting. She just looks at me like she's seen this exact scene play out with different faces 100 times. "You want a taxi to Billings? That's the closest you'll find a bus out of here." I nod again, throat thick, and she dials for me. While we wait, she keeps wiping the counter like she's giving me the dignity of silence. Outside, the wind rattles the metal signs on the pumps. When the taxi pulls in, Old Crown Vic, paint worn thin, I head for the door. Marlene stops me with a voice that's softer than before. "Son," she says, Someone who loves you doesn't leave you in the cold to teach you a lesson. I don't know what to say, so I don't say anything. I step back into the night. The ride to Billings is dark and long. The driver, a heavy-set man named Hank, doesn't talk much, just glances at me now and then in the rear view like he's trying to guess what kind of trouble I've crawled out of. The heater barely works. Every mile feels like an hour, and the lights of the town ahead look smaller the closer we get, like even the city doesn't want to claim me. At the bus station, I buy the earliest ticket back to Denver. The clerk hands it over without looking at my face. I sit near the back of the bus, still gripping the paper cup I carried from the station even though it's empty now. I don't know why I didn't throw it out. The bus lurches onto the road, and the vibration in the floorboards climbs into my bones. All I want is for the world to go quiet, but my mind won't stop replaying the moment Mara rolled down the window. That grin. That voice. The way Celeste leaned forward, eyes lit like she finally got the drama she'd been craving. Rowan's laugh in the background, high, sharp, delighted. I keep trying to understand the part where this was funny to them, where I stopped being a husband and became a prop in whatever story they tell each other about me. I press my forehead to the cold glass, watching the darkness outside blur by. The truth starts settling in my stomach, heavy and unwelcome. They didn't forget me. They didn't lose their tempers. They didn't make a mistake. They left me. On purpose. Together. Somewhere between Hardin and the Wyoming border, I pull my phone out one more time. No missed calls. No texts. Not even a fake apology. The screen reflects my face back at me, tired, windburned, and more alone than I've ever been. I breathe in slow, trying not to shake. This isn't a joke. This is who they are. And maybe, for the first time, I'm finally seeing it. The bus settles into its rhythm, a low mechanical hum that fills the silence between my thoughts. The air smells like old upholstery and cheap heater dust. Most passengers are asleep, heads tilted against windows or bundled into jackets. But I sit upright, arms crossed tight, like I'm trying to hold myself together. Every bump in the road shakes through my ribs. Somewhere outside Casper, the night sky turns the color of charcoal, and the blur of fields looks endless. I watch the reflection of my face in the window, the streaks of passing lights cutting across it, and I don't recognize the man looking back at me. He looks like someone who just realized he's been the last to know his own story. I keep replaying the gas station, not even the leaving part this time, the moments before it, the looks, the whispers, the way Mara gripped the wheel too tight the entire drive up. Something had been off from the start, and I ignored every signal because I didn't want to be the one who made a big deal out of nothing. I swallow hard, teeth set tight. Nothing turned out to be something. Something turned out to be everything. Hours roll by. The bus stops in small Wyoming towns, Douglas, Wheatland, places you blink and miss. People shuffle in and out. And at one point, the seat beside me fills with a teenage boy who doesn't say a word, just pulls his hoodie over his face and sleeps immediately. Lucky kid. I try to sleep too, but every time I close my eyes, old memories burn through. Not the good ones. The ones that make my stomach knot. I remember the day I met Mara on a construction site outside Boulder. She walked across the gravel in steel-toe boots and a high-visibility vest, clipboard in hand, pretending not to notice every man on the crew looking at her. When she first talked to me, her voice was softer than I expected. Direct. Confident. I liked that. I liked her. Enough to look past the sharp edges. Celeste and Rowan were there from the beginning. Celeste always watching, like she was grading me. Rowan tagging along, smirking at every word I said. I should have known that dynamic wouldn't change. It only got worse. First came the little comments, the inside jokes I was never let in on. Then the vacation plans that never included me. The "you wouldn't understand" looks exchanged across rooms. There was a stretch, maybe the first 2 years, where Mara and I felt like a team. Or maybe I just believed we were. I kept convincing myself that once her sisters got used to me, things would settle. But they didn't. And every time I brought it up, Mara would laugh it off, call me sensitive, or tell me Celeste was just protective. I let it go. Again and again. Because loving her felt easier than challenging everything around her. I rub my eyes with the heel of my hand. The bus hits a dip in the road, and the jolt snaps me back to the present. My phone buzzes in my pocket, and for a split second, my heart jumps. Then I look. It's Eli. "You all right? Heard something weird today. Call me when you can." Weird? I breathe out slow, because I already have a guess what weird means when it comes from Mara's side of the world. My thumb hovers over the screen, but I don't call him. I type back instead. "On my way home. I'll explain later." The bus lights dim even further. Someone coughs. Someone snores. The whole cabin feels like a drifting world that doesn't belong to anyone, least of all me. My mind drifts again, this time to the moments right before we left Denver. Celeste leaning against the car, arms crossed, making some joke about me being too predictable. Rowan chiming in, saying something like, "I used to be fun before getting married turned me boring." Mara had smiled at that, a tight smile she thought I didn't notice. I wonder now if that was when they decided I'd be the weekend's entertainment. Around sunrise, faint light begins bleeding over the plains. Golden, cold, indifferent. The bus creaks as it climbs the last stretch toward Colorado's border. I watch the sky shift from black to gray to a pale, washed-out pink. A new day, technically. Not that it feels like one. My phone buzzes again. Another message from Eli. "Mara posted something. Looks like she's making you the bad guy. Call me." There it is. Not even 24 hours. And she's already shaping the narrative. Like the moment she drove off wasn't enough. Like the humiliation needed an audience. I clench my jaw, forcing myself not to imagine what she wrote. Something vague, probably. Something that paints her as worried, hurt, confused. Something that makes me look unstable or impulsive. She's always been good at that, saying just enough to make herself look like the victim without ever having to lie directly. The sun rises higher, and Denver's outskirts finally appear through the window. I take a long breath, steadying myself. I thought coming home would give me clarity, maybe some ground to stand on. But as the bus pulls into the station and I feel the weight in my chest settle deeper, I realize something I didn't want to admit. The real damage hasn't even started yet. Not with what they did on that highway. Not with the silence on my phone. It's everything I'm about to find out. Everything they said. Everything they planned. Everything I refused to see until they peeled the mask off in the cruelest way possible. The bus doors open. Cold morning air rushes in. I stand, my legs stiff, my hands shaking just enough for me to notice. I step off the bus and the world feels different. Not bigger, not smaller, just unfamiliar. Like I've been away for years, not hours. And somehow, deep down, I know I'm not walking into my old life. I'm walking into the truth I've been avoiding. The house looks exactly the way we left it 2 days ago. Same porch light buzzing faintly. Same welcome mat with the corner curled up because I kept meaning to fix it. Same quiet street. But the second I step inside, everything feels wrong. Too still, too empty, like it's holding its breath. I shut the door behind me and the sound echoes through the whole place. No suitcase in the hallway, no note on the counter, no sign that Mara ever cared enough to wonder whether I made it back. I set my keys down and they skid across the table louder than they should. I should shower, eat something, sleep, but I just stand there, staring at the kitchen like the answer to why my life fell apart might be hiding in the cabinets. My phone keeps buzzing in my pocket. Not with calls from her, of course not. It's Eli again. Mara's posting more. Seriously, man, you okay? I don't have the energy to type a reply. I move down the hallway, past the framed pictures of us, engagement photos at Red Rocks, a trip to Moab, a New Year's Eve where we both looked genuinely happy. I stop at one. Mara's hand is on my chest, her head tilted toward me, her smile warm. I can't figure out if that moment was ever real or if I just needed it to be. The bedroom is dark, curtains still drawn. I toss my jacket on the bed and sit at the edge, elbows on my knees. My body feels heavy, like I'm sinking into something I can't see. I stay there for a long time, listening to the old house creak in places it never used to. At some point, I notice Mara's work bag still on the dresser. That means her laptop is here. I'm not the kind of man who goes through someone's things. I've never even thought about it. But right now, the silence inside this house feels like it's hiding something from me. A secret that's been living under my roof for years. I cross the room and unzip the bag before I can talk myself out of it. The laptop wakes instantly. She never logs out of anything, never closes her tabs. She trusts the world in a way I always admired, but maybe I should have questioned more. Her home screen loads, browser still open, a dozen tabs, news articles, work spreadsheets, Pinterest boards, and then one tab labeled something stupid and harmless, Sisters Group Chat. At first I hover the cursor over it, telling myself I shouldn't. Then I click. The chat bursts open. A wall of messages, colors for each sister, conversations stacked for months. My stomach drops before I even read the first line. CL, we should ditch him somewhere on the drive, like for real. See how long it takes him to find his way home. Ro, OMG, yes, please. He's so needy. Mara, you're basically raising a full-grown man. Mara, you two are awful, but also, it would be kinda hilarious. I blink. Read it again. The words don't change. There's a timestamp. 6 weeks ago. This trip was planned around humiliating me, long before the jokes in the car, long before the snide comments. They'd been warming up to it like it was some kind of sport. I scroll. Photos pop up. Screenshots of private texts I sent Mara. Messages where I apologized for things I didn't do. Messages where I tried to talk about feeling left out when her sisters dominated every part of our plans. In the chat, each screenshot has one of Celeste's little captions. Look at this. He's like a wounded puppy. Tell him to grow a spine. Why does he type like he's begging? Rowan replied to one with a crying, laughing emoji and wrote, Can we please leave him at a gas station? Just once? For the plot? Plot. I scroll faster, my breath uneven, the room tilting around me. More messages, more screenshots, actual pictures of me sleeping on the couch, one taken from the passenger seat while I napped on a road trip last month. Mara, he's knocked out again. Zero awareness. CEL, dead to the world, LOL. Then, yesterday, the day they left me. Mara, we'll stop in Hardin. He'll go inside. Then we drive. Cell, perfect, don't chicken out. Row, record it if you can, ahaha. My hands shake so badly the cursor flickers across the screen. This isn't just cruelty. It isn't just a bad moment or a joke gone too far. This is a plan, a coordinated effort to tear me down piece by piece and laugh about it behind my back. A noise escapes me. Half breath, half something else. Something raw, something I've never heard from myself before. I scroll again, and there it is, the part that hits harder than anything else. Mara, he'll probably call his mom. Or Eli. He always needs someone to hold his hand. Sell big baby energy. Row. At least we'll get a quiet drive home. I feel something inside me tear, clean, fast, quiet. Not anger. Not yet. Something deeper. A grief I didn't know you could feel for a person still alive. I close the laptop gently, like shutting a coffin. Then I sit back on the bed, staring at nothing. The house around me feels different now. Not empty. Not quiet. Just done. Like it's letting me know my life here ended the moment I opened that chat. After a while, minutes, hours, I don't know, I stand. My hands move on their own. I grab a duffel bag from the closet and start filling it with the only things that feel like mine. A few shirts, work boots, the photo of me and Keaton fishing when we were kids. I don't touch anything that belongs to Mara. I don't leave a note. I don't owe her that. Before I walk out, I look around the house one last time. The kitchen, the hallway, the framed pictures, the life I thought we were building. It all looks like a set now. Props, none of it real. My phone buzzes. Another text from Eli. Mara's telling people you had some kind of breakdown. I let out a breath, slow and steady. Not surprised anymore. Not shocked. Just clearer. She didn't just leave me at a gas station. She needed a story to justify it. I grab my keys and walk out, locking the door out of habit, even though I know I won't be back. When I reach my truck, the sun is already sinking behind the rooftops, turning the street gold. I climb in, start the engine, and sit there for a moment, breathing through the ache sitting deep under my ribs. Then I put the truck in drive. Leaving doesn't feel like escaping. It feels like waking up. Colorado Springs looks different at night. All sodium streetlights and long shadows stretching across cracked pavement. I pull into Keaton's apartment complex a little after 9, the engine ticking as it cools. The parking lot smells faintly of motor oil and burned rubber, familiar in a way that hits deeper than it should. It feels like being 12 again, waiting for my brother to finish a shift at the garage. I grab my duffel and head up the metal stairs. The rail is cold. My legs feel heavier with each step, every part of me running on instinct more than intention. When I knock, Keaton opens the door almost immediately, like he was standing right behind it. He doesn't say a word, just steps aside so I can walk in, then closes the door and hands me a beer from the fridge. No questions, no shock, just that steady, quiet presence he's always had. The exact opposite of what I came from. I drop my bag by the couch and sink into it. The beer is cold, the first real sensation I've felt since the bus ride. The TV is on, muted, showing some late-night car auction channel he watches when he can't sleep. He finally sits across from me and says, "How bad?" My throat tightens. I try to answer, but the words break apart before they leave my mouth. I scrape a hand over my face, take a breath, try again. They planned it, I say. All of it. He doesn't look surprised, but his jaw twitches. "You're staying here as long as you need." I nod, staring at the beer label. I haven't even taken a sip. I left the house, I say. Didn't leave a note. Good, he says. Don't give them anything they can twist. It hits me how different this is, how little I have to explain. With Mara, everything needed a justification. With Keaton, I just exist, and that's enough. I sleep on the couch that night, or try to. Every time my eyes close, I see that chat window again. Their messages, their jokes, the way they reduced me to a punchline. I wake up over and over, heart racing, breath shallow. Not fear, not exactly. Something else. Something that feels like grief and anger welded together. By morning, my mind is foggy but clear enough to know I can't stay in Denver. Not with Mara knowing where to find me. Not with her sisters stirring up whatever story they're telling people. I call my supervisor at Timber Rock. He answers on the second ring, sounding tired. You alive, Hartley? Mostly, I say. Listen, I need that transfer. Colorado Springs project, the hospital remodel. He doesn't ask why. You can start Wednesday. We're short on foreman anyway. Relief cuts through me sharp enough to steady my voice. Thanks, boss. You earned it, he says, then hangs up. A few hours later, I find a cheap one-bedroom on the south side of the city, the kind of building where the hallway lights flicker, and half the units have blinds hanging crooked. But it's mine. It's far from Mara. It's far from every version of myself that kept shrinking to fit inside her expectations. As I sign the lease, my phone starts ringing again. Unknown number, then another, then another. 3 in a row. I don't need caller ID to know who they are. I turn the phone face down on the table and keep signing. That night, after I move my duffel into the new place, I sit on the floor because I don't have a couch yet. The walls are bare. The air smells like old paint. It's not comfortable, not warm, not anything close to home, but it's honest, and that feels like electricity under my skin. My phone buzzes again. This time, it's voicemail from Mara. Colin, please, you're being dramatic. Come home so we can talk like adults. This is ridiculous. No apology. No acknowledgement of what she did. Just annoyance that I didn't play my part in her story. I block the number. 10 minutes later, Celeste calls from another line. Fix this, Colin. You made her look crazy. Then Rowan. You're overreacting. Grow up. I block them all, one by one. But they're persistent. Calls come from burner numbers, from work phones, from numbers I don't recognize. I silence the device completely, toss it across the room. Keaton drops by after his shift, smelling like machine grease and metal. He brings takeout and sits on the floor with me. You heard from them? He asks. Too much. Block harder, he says. I laugh under my breath, short, bitter. You ever think someone could hate you so much they'd enjoy watching you fall apart? Keaton shakes his head. This ain't hate, it's control. They lost it when you didn't play along. His words land deeper than I want them to. I don't respond. Instead, I eat the takeout slowly, each bite grounding me. When he leaves, the apartment goes quiet. Really quiet. I let myself breathe in it. Let myself feel the stillness, the freedom, the ache, all of it. I fall asleep on the floor sometime after midnight. The next morning, sunlight cuts through the blinds and lands across the empty living room. My phone is still silent. No calls, no buzzing. The absence is loud. Then, late in the afternoon, it starts again. First one ring, then another, then 10. I ignore every one until the phone finally gives up. For the first time since the gas station, I let myself think the thing I've been avoiding. They didn't just abandon me. They expected me to crawl back. And somewhere deep inside, for the first time in years, I feel something shift. Small at first, then steady. They don't get to own my life anymore. The first real test of my new silence comes 3 days after I move into the apartment. I'm at the job site, unloading lumber with a couple of guys from the Colorado Springs crew, when my phone vibrates nonstop in my pocket. At first I ignore it. Then it keeps going. And going. By the time I check, I've got 5 missed calls from my mother and 1 voicemail. My stomach knots immediately. I step away from the noise and call her back. She answers on the first ring, voice strained. "Colin? Honey, what is going on?" I close my eyes. "What did she tell you?" "Your wife came by the house," she says, breath shaky. "She said you had some kind of breakdown, that you ran off without telling anyone. She looks so worried." The word worried hits me like a shove. I grip the edge of a concrete column to steady myself. "Mom," I say, trying to keep my voice steady, "I didn't have a breakdown. Mara's lying to you." A long silence. I hear her exhale. Why would she lie? I don't know how to answer that without dragging my mother into the ugliness of all of it, without dragging myself back through the humiliation again. "We're having problems," I say instead, "and she's not telling you the truth." "What kind of problems?" Her voice softens, fragile. "Colin, talk to me." I rest my head against the cool concrete. "I can't. Not yet. But I'm okay. I promise. I just need space." She hesitates. "Well, she said you wouldn't answer her calls. She said she was scared you might hurt yourself." My chest tightens. Mara walked into my parents' house, sat on their couch, and fed them the kind of story that would make any mother panic. She was burying me in a narrative before I could lift my head above it. "Mom," I say, firmer now, "I'm not unstable. I'm not a danger to myself. I'm working. I'm living with Keaton right now. Please don't let her scare you." Another pause, then quietly, "Okay, I believe you." But there's a weight in her voice that tells me she's wrestling with the pieces she's been given. I realize Mara didn't go to my parents for comfort. She went for credibility. After we hang up, I don't go back to unloading lumber right away. I stand there with the sun beating down on the back of my neck, my pulse thudding in my ears. She's not just painting me as dramatic. She's painting me as unstable, the kind of man who would crumble over a simple argument. I thought being abandoned in Montana was the worst part. I was wrong. This is worse. This is erasure. That evening, after work, I head back to the apartment and find 3 more texts from Eli. "Dude, call me. I need to tell you something. She's saying stuff about you at the office. It's bad, man. Call me." I call him as soon as I set my keys down. He answers immediately. "Thank God. Listen, Mara's been telling people you had some emotional snap, that you disappeared. Some of the guys asked me today if you're in rehab or something." My hand goes numb around the phone. Why would she say that? "She's protecting herself," Eli says. "If people think you're unstable, then what she did looks reasonable, like she had to step away for her own safety." There's a moment where I feel nothing. No rage, no hurt, just a cold clarity sinking in. She's rewriting the whole thing. "Yeah," Eli says quietly, "and she's doing it fast." I thank him and hang up, though "thank you" feels like too small a phrase for hearing the truth without sugarcoating it. Later that night, I sit on the floor again, back against the wall, staring at the blank space where a TV should be. My apartment smells like new carpet and leftover takeout. It's the quietest place I've ever lived. I scroll through rental listings for used couches. I scroll through job schedules. I scroll through nothing just to keep my hands busy so my mind doesn't race. But eventually, the silence wins. I reach a point where I realize avoiding the next step isn't an option. I need someone who knows how to handle people like Mara. People who break you, then break the story. I search for divorce attorneys in Colorado Springs, call 3 offices, and get an appointment with a woman named Patricia Coleman. Her assistant asks if I'm comfortable sharing the basics before the meeting. I'm not, but I do anyway. By the time I hang up, the knot in my chest shifts, not gone, but looser. The next day, before work, I stop at a diner near the job site for breakfast. I'm halfway through my coffee when my phone buzzes again. This time, the message is from Celeste. You made her cry. Fix it. I stare at the screen until the letters blur. Fix it. Like she didn't spend weeks plotting the moment my life cracked apart. Like I'm the one ruining the image she wants the world to see. I delete the message without replying. By the time my shift ends, the sun is bright, the air warm, and my arms ache from hours of lifting steel beams. Normal aches. Real aches. Not the hollow kind Mara left me with. I get in my truck and just sit there for a minute, breathing. The world feels steadier here. On job sites, around people who don't need me to be anything other than useful. When I drive home, I don't take the fastest route. I take the long road through a neighborhood of old brick shops and auto garages, windows full of dusty for lease signs. I'm not looking for anything. I just want to remember what it feels like to move on my own terms. That night, in bed, on the thin mattress I bought used, I replay my mom's voice, Eli's words, Celeste's text, and something shifts again inside me. Not a break, not despair, resolve. If Mara wants a narrative, if she wants to twist the story tight around her fingers, I'll give her a different version. One backed by truth, one she can't bend. But first, I have to get through the next step. Walking into Patricia Coleman's office and admitting out loud that my marriage is already over, and it ended long before the gas station. Patricia Coleman's office sits on the second floor of a brick building that used to be a bank. The hall smells like old paper and lemon floor cleaner, the kind of scent that tells you people come here when something in their life has snapped. I sit in the waiting area gripping a clipboard, filling out forms with questions I never thought I'd have to answer. Reason for seeking counsel. I stare at the blank line for a long moment before writing 2 words, emotional abuse. Patricia opens her door right as I finish. She's in her early 50s, glasses hanging from a chain, dark suit pressed sharp. Her expression is steady, measured, like nothing I'm about to say will surprise her. She shakes my hand firmly, then gestures toward a chair across from her desk. Start wherever you can, she says. It takes me a second. I've told pieces of the story to Eli, pieces to Keaton, even smaller pieces to my mother. But this is the first time I have to put it all together out loud. The gas station, the laughter, the drive home, the group chat, the lies Mara has been spreading like wildfire. Patricia listens without interrupting, pen tapping lightly against a legal pad. Her face barely moves, but her eyes sharpen with each detail. When I finish, the room feels too small. She leans back. This isn't a marital spat. This is organized humiliation. And you've been the target for a long time. I swallow. Hearing someone else say it makes it more real. So, what do? You file for divorce, she says simply, and we get ahead of whatever she's saying about you. She asks for evidence. I tell her about the messages I saw on Mara's laptop, the screenshots, the plans made weeks ahead. Patricia nods slowly, writing notes. Did you save anything? I didn't think to. She doesn't scold me. We can still recover a lot. And I'll have an investigator look into her digital footprint. People who enjoy public validation usually leave breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs, that's one word for it. Mara and her sisters practically built a trail. Patricia goes over next steps. Filing, serving papers, setting boundaries. You need to block every number connected to them. If they show up at your home or job, you report it. Don't engage. Don't respond. Don't give them anything that can be twisted. I nod. She's already telling people I'm unstable. And we'll dismantle that, step by step. Patricia folds her hands. But you need to be prepared. Someone like Mara won't take the loss quietly. She will escalate. I don't doubt it. She's already rewritten me into the villain in half of Denver. Before I leave, Patricia asks if I have support. Friends, family. I mention Keaton and Eli. She nods, like that's enough. But as I'm driving home from the meeting, my phone lights up with a new unknown number. I don't answer. It rings again. And again. By the time I get to the apartment, there are 5 missed calls and a text from a number I've never seen. Colin, please. This is ridiculous. Talk to me. I delete it. Block it. Then another message comes from a different number. You're making this harder than it needs to be. I block that too. A minute later, another. Grow up and come home. Block. It becomes a rhythm. Call. Delete. Block. Over and over. The phone heats up in my hand. I toss it on the table and step away like it's a live wire. I try to make dinner, but the kitchen feels too small, too bright. I end up pacing the hallway, back and forth, hands clenched, breathing shallow. Every vibration makes adrenaline spike through my ribs. This is what happens when someone decides they own the version of you the world sees. Later that night, I call Eli. He picks up on the first ring. What happened? You okay? I close my eyes. She won't stop calling. Different numbers, different angles, like she's testing every door. That's what she does, he says quietly. She doesn't want you back, man. She wants control. Big difference. I let his words settle. They fit too well. Listen, he continues. I heard something else today. She's telling people you abandoned her after a minor argument. She's making it sound like you walked out to punish her. My jaw tightens. Of course she is. You did the right thing meeting with a lawyer. His tone shifts, more serious than I've ever heard from him. Don't let her drag you into a narrative you can't get out of. Stay quiet. Let the truth work for you. After the call, I sit by the window, watching headlights glide down the street. The city feels different at night, less forgiving, more honest. It shows every crack. The next morning, I start my shift at the hospital construction site. The familiar rhythm of work, hammers, metal clanging, men shouting measurements, helps settle my nerves. By noon, I'm knee-deep in framing a new corridor wall when my phone buzzes again. This time, it's a number I recognize. Mara's work line. I let it ring. She leaves a voicemail. I don't understand why you're doing this. You're hurting both of us. Please just call me so we can talk. Her voice is soft, trembling, calculated. It's the voice she uses when she wants people to see her as delicate, breakable, the victim. But now I hear it for what it is. Performance. I don't delete the voicemail. I save it. For evidence. That night, I sit on the couch Keaton found on Facebook Marketplace, listening to the message again. Not because I'm tempted, but because it reminds me why I need to follow Patricia's advice, why silence is the only weapon I have left. I open my laptop and draft an email to her. She contacted me again. Here's the voicemail. I attach the file and hit send. The reply comes 10 minutes later. Good. Document everything. We're building a pattern. A pattern. The word echoes in my head. For years, Mara made me feel like I was the problem. Too sensitive, too serious, too dependent. But now, watching her scramble to regain control, I finally see the truth. The pattern was always her, and I'm done living inside it. The courthouse in downtown Denver has that hollow silence you only hear in places where people come to break ties. Not the angry kind, the final kind. The kind that settles in your bones. I sit beside Patricia at a long wooden table, my palms resting flat so no one sees how hard my hands are shaking. Across the aisle, Mara adjusts the sleeve of her cream-colored blouse, her attorney whispering something to her. She nods like she's preparing for a performance. When she finally looks at me, she tries a small, soft smile, the kind she used to use when she wanted to pacify me after a fight, but it's different now. I don't feel pulled toward her anymore. I feel detached, like I'm watching a stranger try on my wife's face. The judge enters, and everything clicks into motion. Mara's attorney stands first. He's sharp, confident, the type who likes to fill the room with his voice. He outlines their narrative with smooth precision. I abandoned Mara after a minor disagreement. I disappeared. I refused counseling. I acted impulsively and vindictively. He says the words concerning behavior like he's dropping a seed he hopes will sprout into suspicion. None of it surprises me. I knew she'd try to claim the moral high ground, but hearing it spoken officially in a courtroom has a different kind of sting. It lands low in my stomach, sickening. When the attorney finishes, Mara dabs at her eye like she's fighting back tears. Not a single one falls. Then Patricia stands. Her voice is calm, steady, deadly. Your Honor, she begins, we'd like to submit evidence that contradicts nearly every claim made by the petitioner. She hands a thick stack of documents to the clerk. I watch the papers move from hand to hand until they land in front of the judge. Photos, screenshots, printouts, receipts. The truth laid out in ink, Patricia continues. These are messages exchanged between the petitioner and her sisters. 42 pages of coordinated planning intended to strand my client in rural Montana. Mara shifts in her seat, face tightening. Patricia doesn't slow down. Page 14 includes the exact moment they decided where to abandon him. Page 20 shows the petitioner mocking him for not noticing their intentions. Page 27 shows them celebrating the idea before the trip even began. She flips another page. These are social media posts made the same night my client was left at a gas station. The petitioner and her sisters can be seen drinking at a bar in Billings shortly after the incident. Captions include, Girls' Freedom Weekend, and finally, some peace. Mara's attorney stands to object, but the judge lifts a hand. I'll review it. Patricia moves on. She lists the calls, the harassment, the new numbers Mara used after being blocked, the visit to my parents' house, the story she told them about me having a breakdown. And finally, Patricia says, a statement from the gas station manager who witnessed the abandonment. Ms. Hawkins describes the petitioner accelerating away while laughing. The judge reads carefully, page by page. The silence is heavy, colder than anything in Montana. Mara doesn't look at me now. She stares straight ahead, jaw tight, shoulders shrinking inch by inch. When the judge finally speaks, Her voice is level, but there's no mistaking the verdict in her tone. Based on the evidence presented, the court does not find the respondent responsible for abandonment. She taps a finger on one of the printouts. Quite the opposite appears to be true. Mara's face drains of color. The divorce is granted. The judge continues. Assets will be divided equally. Neither party will receive spousal support, and I strongly encourage both parties to refrain from further contact. A small final sound escapes Mara, a breath, maybe a gasp, but it's quiet, almost swallowed by the courtroom air. Her attorney leans toward her, whispering urgently, but her eyes are fixed on the table. No more acting, no more tears, just the slow realization that she lost her script. When the gavel hits, my chest tightens, not from pain, but from release, a deep, quiet kind that feels almost unfamiliar. Patricia gathers her papers. "You handled that well," she says gently. I nod, though I barely feel present in my own body. It's like my mind is still replaying the moment the judge said "granted," trying to believe it. As we exit into the hallway, Mara stands from her table and rushes toward me, eyes wide, reaching out like she suddenly remembered she used to love me. "Colin, please, can we talk? Just for a minute?" Before I can answer, Patricia steps between us, her voice firm. "No, the order stands. Step back." Mara's face twists. First hurt, then anger, then something darker, something I recognize. The same look she wore in the car the day Rowan joked about ditching me. A mix of irritation and entitlement. "Like I'm breaking a rule," she wrote. I turn away. I walk down the hall without looking back. The air outside feels different when I step through the doors. Fresher, colder, real. For the first time in months, maybe years, there's no weight on my shoulders that belongs to someone else. No second guessing. No bending myself into shapes to keep the peace. Just me, standing in the sunlight, breathing. 3 years ago, Mara left me at a gas station to watch me fall apart. Today, I walked out of this courthouse whole. The drive back to Colorado Springs feels different after the courthouse. The highway looks the same open fields, same long stretches of nothing. But the pressure in my chest is gone. It's like someone finally cut the rope I'd been dragging for years. My hands rest steady on the wheel. The sun sits low behind the mountains, painting the sky in quiet gold. For the first time in a long while, I don't feel like I'm running from something. I feel like I'm heading toward something that might finally make sense. When I get home, the apartment is just as I left it. Sparse, a little lonely, still smelling faintly like paint. But it doesn't feel temporary anymore. I set my keys on the counter and realize the silence isn't heavy tonight. It's peaceful. I shower. I make dinner. I sit on the second-hand couch eating chicken straight from a plastic bowl because I still haven't bought proper dishes. And yet, it feels like a victory. I'm not performing for anyone, not shrinking, not bracing for criticism. I exist without being measured. That alone feels like a kind of freedom I didn't know I'd been starving for. Work the next day is steady. Good. My crew trusts me. They don't care about my personal life as long as the beams go up straight and the job stays on schedule. At lunch, I sit on a stack of lumber, drinking from a thermos, watching the sun hit the steel frames of the new hospital corridor. It's loud, chaotic, honest work. No second guessing, no hidden agendas. The simplicity of it settles something inside me. Weeks pass, then months. My routine becomes solid. I wake early. I work hard. I take night classes at the community college. Business management, accounting basics, project planning. Things I never gave myself permission to pursue because Mara always needed something, or her sisters did, or there was some crisis that required dropping everything. Now, I leave work dusty and tired, grab a sandwich from a late-night deli, sit in a classroom with other adults who carry the same mix of exhaustion and hope. I take notes. I learn. I begin imagining what it would be like to build something of my own one day, something with my name on the paperwork, something no one can take credit for or tear down behind my back. When I get home from classes, I fix small things around the apartment. Tighten loose cabinet hinges, patch holes in the drywall left by the last tenant, install shelving in the closet. The place starts to feel less like a rental and more like a chapter I'm writing on purpose. Sometimes I catch myself expecting the phone to ring, some unknown number, some attempt from Mara or her sisters trying to claw back control, but it never does. Patricia's no-contact strategy worked. And once Mara realized she couldn't reach me, she moved on to other audiences, other performances. I hear through Eli, from time to time, what she's told people, that I shut down emotionally, that she didn't know how to help me, but each story gets weaker, less convincing. People hear both sides long enough, they figure out which one rings true. One Sunday afternoon, Keaton and I work on his truck in the parking lot behind his building. He hands me a wrench and cracks open 2 beers, sweat dripping down his forehead. The sky is clear, warm, calm. "You know," he says, leaning against the bumper, "you look different these days. Different bad or different good. Different like you finally got your own oxygen tank." I laugh, shaking my head. I didn't realize how long I'd been holding my breath. He nods once, like he understands more than he says. With Keaton, that's usually true. A few weeks later, I sign a lease for a small house on the west side of Colorado Springs. 2 bedrooms, old hardwood floors, a beat-up garage that will need work. But the yard is quiet, shaded by a big silver maple tree. When I walk through it, I feel something settle in my chest, like my ribs finally have room to expand. Moving day is simple, a few boxes, a borrowed truck. Keaton helps, grumbling the whole time, but smiling in that quiet way of his. When we finish, he slaps my shoulder. "New place, new life." "Yeah," I say. "Feels that way." The first night in the house, I sit in the garage with the door half open, letting the evening air drift in. The sky is turning deep blue. Somewhere in the neighborhood, a dog barks. I lean back on an old folding chair and just breathe. No noise, no chaos, no manipulation hiding in the corners of the room. Just me. There's a moment where I let myself think about Mara, about the way she used to laugh, about the early days when things almost felt real. But the memory unspools into what it eventually became. The jokes at my expense, the dismissive comments, the constant need to make me smaller so she could feel bigger. I realize, sitting there in the fading light, that I don't miss her. I miss the person I wanted her to be, the version I invented, the one that never actually existed. By the time the stars come out, I feel a quiet certainty I've never felt before. Not relief exactly, not victory, something steadier. Like the ground under my feet finally belongs to me. Months become a year. The hospital project wraps. I get promoted to crew lead permanently. My business classes start making sense of the parts of construction I never paid attention to. Bidding, contracts, management. I meet with a small business advisor at the community college who tells me, "You've got the skill set. You just need the leap." So I leap. I file the paperwork for Hartley Contracting, a name that feels both simple and earned. Keaton becomes my first employee. Then, another guy from the old Denver crew joins after hearing, "I run things fair." Word spreads faster than I expect. People like contractors who show up when they say they will. It turns out honesty is its own kind of currency. One night, after a long day on a remodel job, I walk into my new house and feel something shift in the air. Not heavy, not painful, just full. Like my life finally has weight again. Not the crushing kind, but the kind you can hold. I kick off my boots, sit at the small kitchen table, and open my mail. Bills, estimates, a flyer for a neighborhood barbecue. Normal things. Real things. It isn't until I'm brushing my teeth before bed that I notice something else. The mirror reflects a man who looks older, steadier, grounded. Someone who's been cracked open and put back together, but on his own terms. Someone whole. And for the first time since the night on Highway 87, I smile without it hurting. 3 years pass almost without me noticing. The days stack themselves neatly now. Job sites, invoices, early mornings, late dinners, the steady rhythm of a life that finally fits. My company grows one phone call at a time. Keaton and I take on small renovation jobs, then bigger ones. Word gets around that Hartley Contracting does clean work and shows up when promised. People like that. People trust that. On a Saturday in early spring, I'm at the hardware store picking up screws and joint compound when I hear someone call my name. I turn and see Marcus Quinlan walking toward me. The same easy grin he's had since we were 20. He claps my shoulder hard enough to jolt me. "Man, it's been forever," he says. "Heard you're running your own crew now." "Trying," I say. "How's Denver treating you?" He shrugs. "Same old. Hey, you hear about Mara?" I freeze for a split second before answering. "No, and I haven't been looking." Marcus lowers his voice just a hair. "She got divorced again. Married some guy from her office, didn't even last a year." I nod slowly, not feeling much of anything. Not surprise, not satisfaction, just distance. "Hope they both land on their feet," I say, and I mean it. I don't want anything from that world anymore. Not payback, not pain, not even closure. I got my own. Marcus chuckles. "Damn, man, you've grown." Then his tone shifts, turning thoughtful. "For what it's worth, I always thought you deserved better." I don't know why, but that lands deeper than I expect. I clap his shoulder back, say goodbye, and head for the checkout. On the drive home, I pass my old neighborhood in Denver. It's out of the way, but traffic pushes me onto familiar streets I haven't seen in years. I slow for a red light and glance left. The house Mara and I shared is still there. Same porch light. Same tree in the front yard leaning toward the driveway. But it looks smaller now, like a set piece left behind after the actors moved on. Through the window, I can see silhouettes moving around, a couple I don't recognize, laughing about something in the kitchen. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't sting. It just feels like a chapter I don't belong to anymore. When the light turns green, I drive on. Back in Colorado Springs, my new house sits quiet under the shadow of Cheyenne Mountain. The sun is sinking behind it, coloring the sky in soft shades of orange and rose. I unload the hardware bags and step into the garage, the one I've slowly turned into my workshop. Shelves I built myself line the walls. My tools hang in neat rows. The space smells like sawdust and cold air. My phone buzzes on the workbench. A new client inquiry. Someone wanting a deck repair and a quote for kitchen cabinets. I type out a quick reply and schedule a call for Monday morning. When I set the phone down, something catches my eye on the shelf above. A folded piece of paper tucked between two paint cans. I pull it out. It's the statement from Marlene Hawkins, the gas station manager in Montana. Patricia gave it to me the day she closed my case file. I kept it without really knowing why. I unfold it slowly. Marlene's handwriting is steady, straight, matter of fact. He didn't look lost. He looked abandoned. There's a difference. People who love you don't test your dignity for fun. My chest tightens, not with pain, but with something closer to understanding. That night in Hardin feels like another lifetime now, like a scar healed over so well you have to press it to remember it was ever there. I refold the paper and slip it back onto the shelf. The garage door is half open, letting the cool evening air drift in. The maple tree in the yard rustles, casting soft shadows across the concrete. I sit on the small stool near my workbench, elbows on my knees, and breathe in the quiet. This is mine, all of it. Hard-earned, slow-built, mine. My life didn't explode in one moment on a highway in Montana. It unraveled slowly, thread by thread, until there was nothing left holding it up. And maybe it had to. Maybe I needed everything to fall apart before I could build something with my own hands, with my own voice, without bending myself into whatever shape made someone else comfortable. I hear the distant hum of a motorcycle on the main road, a dog barking 2 houses down, the world going on, indifferent and steady. And I realize a simple truth, sitting there in the fading light. I didn't just survive what happened, I outgrew it. I stand, shut off the garage light, and step inside. Tomorrow there will be work to do, real work, honest work, the kind that builds things that last. As the door clicks closed behind me, I feel something like peace settle into place. Not loud, not triumphant, just real. Something I can stand on, something I can live in, something that finally feels like a life.